Hello everyone, welcome to this stream. So today we're going to be doing the 10th leg of our down the East Coast bush trip. I know I haven't been doing much of the uh, bush trip. Instead, I'm really focused on doing the on-air airline manager with Kodiak. But today we're going to be doing the 10th leg, and after that we only have two more legs, which will take us down to Key West. Well, without further ado, let's get started. First thing, I'm gonna check the fuel, and today we're gonna be flying from Orlando to Palm Beach International. I don't really need another passenger, so that is gonna be good. And 50% of our tank should be good. In terms of luggage, just to bring the center of gravity to middle, let me try 80. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let's go inside and let's get started. Haven't flown this plane in quite a while. So let's go. We're gonna turn on, first thing, we'll put our fuel tank, and next turn on the alternator and master switch. This should initialize all our GPS units, and for today's flight it's gonna be a direct flight. No VORs really, so we're just gonna set up our GTN 750, I believe, yeah. So let's go to flight plan and set up the origin. So origin is ORL, and destination will be KPBI. Yep. And you know what? Let's go and start our engine first. Actually, I'll turn on the beacon light and prop can go full forward. I'll put the mixture full rich and then back throttle just a little bit, and then we can turn on our auxiliary fuel pump and crank the engine. There you go, mixture go rich and magneto is back to both. And now that the engine is start, we can go ahead and turn off our fuel pump. Before that, I'll start the timer today so I don't forget, and we'll change the fuel tank in about 15 minutes. We'll try to put the RPM right about 1500 as it's slowly rising. Yeah, David, you're not gonna die. Relax. I'm gonna make sure it's a safe flight for you. Okay, let's go ahead and set our let's check the weather first. So we can go to waypoint info and WX data. Seems like we don't have any weather information from here, so what we can do is let's go ahead and view chart to see. I feel like my GTN 750 is not really working, so what we have to do is turn our sky for NG. Just making sure my flight path is good, which it is. Okay, yep, that looks good. So in terms of weather, our altimeter I'll just set with the B key, and winds are variable at 5 knots, which means I can actually go ahead and take any runway. We're gonna fly towards south, so I will go ahead and take runway 25. Is there anything better? Runway 31. No, sure, not runway 31. Runway 25 should be pretty good. Which will most probably be this runway right here towards south. So let's go ahead and taxi to the runway, and we should be good with this flight. Okay, with everything set, let's go ahead and taxi to the runway. We don't really need flaps because there's not a short field takeoff, so we'll not need to do any of that. I think the runway we chose is good because the windsock is indicating that the winds are towards coming from around 2.5 or something at 5 knots, so not pretty bad. We are at the holding short point for runway for runway I think 25. Yeah, actually we might be taking some other runway here, but that's fine as long as the winds are good with us. Okay, real quick, auxiliary fuel pump can come on. Fuel tank, let's see if we need to change it. No, I think this fuel tank is actually good for we can go at 10 more minutes, so that's gonna be fine. With that, everything looks good. Let's go ahead, line up and take off. Okay, so we're taking actually runway 13. If I zoom out, we're gonna just go straight ahead to Palm Beach International. Auxiliary fuel pump is on, everything is good, so let's go ahead and take off. Oops. Okay. My rudder pedals are a little bit soft. Gotta quickly make sure the rudder pedal profile is correct, so we're gonna get off the runway here and then come back one more time. I do not like how my rudder pedal is acting right now, so let's go ahead and change the profile real quick, and then we'll go ahead and head back to the runway one more time. Yep, it is. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is the right profile, so we should be good now. Yep, feels much better with the current sensitivity of the rudder pedal. So we're gonna go back, taxi all the way back to runway 13 again, and then roll for takeoff one more time. Okay, one more time checklist. Auxiliary fuel pump is on. Flaps, we don't really need flaps right now. And with some tailwind, we should be, it's gonna be a little bit tough, but we should be good. Just gonna kick my rudder pedal one more time. That is good. And let's go ahead and see if this time it works. If it doesn't, then we're just gonna go to the end of the runway and take the opposite runway. This time it should work. Yep, and let's go. Gear can go up. We don't have any flaps, so we're good. Auxiliary fuel pump can go off. And I think we're gonna go up to 3,500 for our cruising altitude. Currently we're crossing 1,500 feet. Just 2,000 more feet and we'll be cruising at 3,500 towards Palm Beach International. Let me bring out the yoke timer so we can stop it here, turn on our fuel pump and then switch the tank, and then we can reset and start our timer again. And once all the engine instruments are stabilized, which I can see it is, we can go ahead and turn off the fuel tank. Also keep an eye on the YouTube channel because I finally ordered a zero delay controller board and some switches, which I plan to make for my Kodiak 100. I'll try to record it as good as possible and upload it. Okay, we are about to hit 3,000 feet, so I'm gonna cut down my, once we are at cruising altitude, that's when I'm gonna cut down my prop RPM to 2,300 for cruising settings, and we should be cruising at about 140 knots with some tailwind, close to 145. We're about to hit our cruising altitude. And this should do it. Yep, so we'll be cruising at 3,500 feet. For how long? Let's check the data. Around an hour or less than an hour, around 45 minutes maybe. Let's see if we can get some data for our destination. Waypoint info, weather data, yeah, so we have this time. We can see that the winds are at 250 at 5 knots, which means runways. We have 28 and do we have 25? Nope. So I think what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take 28 left or 28 right. We can choose one of those. Following the weather data, altimeter is 3016. Visibility is pretty good. There are a few clouds at 25,000 feet. We don't have to worry about that. And other than that, there is no other information that should concern us. We can go ahead and check our chart, airport info, and let's see what runway that we decide to go for. So yeah, instead of 28 left, we're definitely gonna go for 28 right. That runway looks way too small. It should be still good for our Piper, but I might, I mean, depending on how I feel, most probably we're gonna take 28 right, and the heading is 279. So with the current winds, our goal is to go to 28 right, which means currently we are following a heading of 160. So we'll just go ahead and join a traffic pattern for the Palm Beach International 28 right, and then from there we should be good. Let's see if our autopilot system is good and working. So it's on heading mode, which means I'm just going to bring it to nav, and that should put us on a direct line with the GPS. The only thing that we have to worry about is the timer here. So I know my fuel tanks are good, so in next 10 minutes we can go ahead and switch our fuel tank as well. And now that we are cruising, let me show you how to set up our cruising RPM. So right now we are almost at red, so we're gonna go ahead and bring the prop down up to 2300, which is right about here. So this should be good for our cruise setting. We're still gonna be flying pretty fast, yeah. So I'm gonna cut down my power a little bit as well. And we have around 10 knots of crosswind coming from 2 o'clock. So this is basically, we only have 2 more legs, where the next leg will be from Palm Beach International to, I forgot which one, but the last leg will take us to Key West, and I really cannot wait. For the Key West, I'm thinking we're gonna do complete VFR, so I mean we will have a track line in our GPS, but other than that we're just gonna be following the road that takes us from Florida mainland all the way to Key West. It should be about an hour 30 minutes of flight for the last leg, but this one we have another 46 minutes left. So one of the key things that you have to remember when you're flying the Piper Arrow is that these fuel tanks, the difference shouldn't be more than 10 gallons on each tank. That's the reason we have to continuously monitor the timer and keep on changing the fuel tanks. Fuel pressure is looking good, oil temperature, oil pressure, all of these are looking good, so we're having a pretty decent flight here. RPM is already set. We are cruising at, we can check our speed, ground speed 150, so almost, 149, so almost 150. That should get us there in, I would say, 40 minutes instead of 45. The wind is straight up crosswind right now of 9 knots, so once it goes to tail, that should really help us. Our next rad is on, but we don't see any clouds, so that is good. We have gained a little bit of altitude over here, so we're gonna go ahead and descend just a little bit so we can get back to our cruising altitude. For descent I have to pull my power back, I do not want to overspeed. So we're gonna descend at about 500 feet per minute for about a minute, and then we'll get back on level flight. Right now we have around 21 knots of crosswind. almost at level flight once we hit the 3500 feet. There's a lot of trimming needed in this plane, and me flying the Kodiak 100 so much doesn't help it either. With the G1000 glass cockpit, it's just so much easier and much more helpful in terms of procedures and everything. But also, flying the Piper isn't too bad. I think for the next bush trip that I planned, it's on Route 101, US Route 101, all the way from southern border of California to the northern border of the US, so right next to Canada. That is going to be very, very fun. I still didn't decide on what plane to use for that, but I don't want to use Kodiak 100 because that will be just too much. I already have two on-air airline carrier going on right now, one in Papua New Guinea and the other in Alaska, which I stream Alaska a lot, but maybe today if I have time I'll stream a little bit of, maybe tonight actually, I will stream a little bit of Papua New Guinea because it is amazing. The terrain over there, one of the challenges that I face in Alaska is that the weather creates a very challenging factor in terms of takeoffs, landing, even the startup of the engine. Other than that, it's pretty okay. The distance on not every leg, but some of the trips, it's pretty long. But other than that, in Papua New Guinea, your challenge is mainly terrain. Like all the airfields, they are like basically grass strips. So very few proper airports. So most of them are just push landing strips. And the crazy part is that the elevation is on average, I would say 3,000 feet, 2,500 to 3,000 feet. On top of that, you have to make sure that when you're flying, you cannot use the autopilot a lot, or even if you're using, you have to be on heading mode all the time. You have to make sure that you have to fly over a lot of mountains, go around mountains just to be able to line up with the runway. So in terms of that, I'm really enjoying Papua New Guinea on-air airline manager career. Alaska is really fun as well. The only problem with Alaska is that it's all the time snowy and white. Hopefully during spring it's gonna be better, and that is also one of the reasons why I ended up creating another on-air airline manager profile. I'm enjoying the best of both. In Papua New Guinea, I can also another factor that helps is the time difference. In Alaska, I can play around this time and it will be perfectly fine. It's gonna be early morning, but by the time we are done with one or two trips, it's gonna be pretty good. And in Papua New Guinea, I can play at Eastern time, like whatever, 7 p.m., 10 p.m., and it's gonna be like broad daylight. So all of these factors really helped a lot, and I'm learning more and more about Kodiak 100, and soon I will be creating an in-depth tutorial on how to fly the Kodiak 100. The winds are very, very nasty up here, and we are gaining altitude one more time. I'll just let it slide up to like 3800 and then bring it back down to 3500 one more time. Let's check on our fuel tank. 11 minutes, so let's go ahead, stop this timer, turn on fuel tank and switch the fuel tank. Fuel pump can go off and we can reset and start the timer again. So right now we are using the left tank, and I have all of these switched on the Bravo throttle quadrant. So this switch, I don't have to use the mouse. I have it on one of the 7 switches available on Bravo throttle quadrant. So it's always done away from screen. Also our RPM is a little bit above 23, so I'm just going to try to bring it back to 2300. That is good. Another 40 minutes and we'll be in Palm Beach International. not a very bad cruise in terms of weather. The winds are a little bit annoying, but let me go ahead and check our destination weather one more time to make sure that we are making the right decision. Right now it's variable at 4 knots and distance about 90 nautical miles. So we might have to end up making the decision last minute. We're gonna check around when we're around like 25 or 20 nautical miles away from the destination. That's when we're gonna do a final check of weather and decide where to land. So this was updated in 1653 Zulu, so not too long ago. And we're about 34 minutes away. So once we're around like 15 minutes, or not even 15, once we're around like 10 minutes away, I think that's when I'm gonna go ahead and check. And there's a little bit of cloud information scattered at 25,000, but also scattered at 3,500. So currently we are cruising at 3,500. As long as the ceiling of the cloud stays above our landing altitude, which it will. Obviously it's very, very low ground in Florida, but as long as we can see the airport, we should be good. Let me quickly confirm something. So in the chart, if we look, should be somewhere over here. Yeah. So airport elevation is only 20 feet, so that means the pattern altitude, the traffic pattern altitude is gonna be 1,020 feet. So as long as the cloud is above 1,020 feet, we are absolutely good to go with that. A lot of airspace is around over here. This is most probably Bravo airspace, but we should be good clearing over there. Because of the wind, we are not really on the pink line, but we are a little bit away, and that is completely because of the wind. We can use the heading mode and try to go a little bit close to the pink line. So let's go ahead, turn on our heading mode. We'll take a left turn here. So we're going to intercept the pink line, and then we'll turn on the nav again, and that will put us right on the pink line. Let's see, also we have gained a lot of altitude, so let's go ahead and drop down a little bit. And also check our fuel tank. 7 minutes, so another few minutes and we should be good to change our fuel tank. Decreasing altitude, so I'm going to cut down my power just so we don't overspeed. Almost at cruising altitude of 3,500. Once we do get there, I'll turn on the level flight. Almost there, and this should be good. Here you go, we are almost at the pink line as well. When we get there, I'll turn on the nav. We should be tracking the line without too much deviation from it. No clouds whatsoever other than Palm Beach International. Most probably we have a little bit of cloud around there. And we are 30 minutes away from our destination. So we are almost at the pink line if you look at the GPS unit. Once we are very, very close to it, we're going to turn on nav, which should be right about in a few seconds. Okay, there you go, nav is on, and that should make us do a right hand turn. And we're back on GPS track. We can go ahead and stop the timer, turn on fuel pump and switch our tank, reset start, and then turn off our fuel pump. I wish there was a way to put OAT or outside air temperature in one of these fields, but I tried it, it doesn't work. So here if I want to change, let's say, my bearing, there isn't really anything for outside air temperature. And still our pitot heat is on, just so that even if the outside air temperature is low, we still have something to fight that. We constantly are gaining altitude, so let's go ahead and decrease it one more time. And we are at our desired altitude, so we can go ahead, get level, and hopefully it stays here. About 27. For some reason the timer is increasing now, most probably because of winds, but we are around 28 minutes away. Our speed needle is like right near the yellow, so we are borderline speeding, but it should be good as long as we don't go up to like 180 or something. We have crosswind coming in from right, about 8 to 11 knots, and ground speed is 160 with, let's see, 25 minutes away. So I just increased the speed a little bit, which will take us there a little bit quicker. Not much of a difference, but it should be good. And we'll try to stay within 3500 without gaining too much or losing too much. let's go ahead and check our weather one more time for destination. Still the same, 1653 Zulu, and the winds are variable at 4 knots. So no update from our meter. And if that is the case, where shall we land? I mean, with our given heading right now, which is 156, what options do we have? We do have for runway 14, which will be right on our line. Now, based on how I feel the wind right near the airport, we can make a decision. We can just go ahead and even land at 32 or 28 if we are on the traffic pattern. We do have a lot of RNAV procedures and ILS. We're not going to use any of that. We'll just keep it visual for now. Almost there, about 60 nautical miles more and 22 minutes. our cruise is going pretty well, but once again we gained altitude, so let's go ahead and lose that. Also, let's see if we have to change our fuel tank. Yes, we do. Let's stop that, turn on fuel tank, and fuel pump, and then switch our tank, reset and start again, and we can turn off our fuel pump. Let's see. And just to confirm our, where is that? Just to confirm our tank, right now we're using the left tank again. So you see we used a little bit on the right tank, and now we are back on left tank, and once the needle is matching with the right one, we can go ahead and turn off the switch the tank if we want. We're overspeeding a little bit, that's why that yellow light pops up. Also, if the throttle is too forward, it does the same thing. And we're about 15 minutes away, so let's see if we have any update on the weather. Nope, nothing still. 1653 Zulu, which means variable at 4 knots, and visibility is good, which means we can go ahead and try runway 14 if anything. I'm gonna go ahead quickly set my heading bug right here to 14. Should be this. Yep. So 14 is selected, which means the runway will be a little bit towards our left. We are around 15 minutes away. I think we lost a bit too much of altitude here, so let's go ahead and gain. While I was looking at the map, we ended up losing quite a bit, more than we wanted, almost 1,000 feet. So let's go ahead and increase that back to 3,500 until we're about like 10 minutes away. That's when we'll start descending down very, very slow. We know the altitude that we want to be when we're near the airfield is 1,020 feet, as the elevation of the airport is 20 feet. Once we are there, we're going to be in pattern altitude, and we can decide on what runway we feel would be right for landing. Right now we still have crosswind, and I do not want to land on a tailwind in this plane. Almost at 3,500. Once we are there, we'll resume our level flight until we're about, right now we're at 40 nautical miles away, so when we're about 25 nautical miles away, that's when we'll start descending down. So instead of time, we'll just look at the distance, and we are good with our flight level here, 3,500. So we'll resume level flight while we cruise towards Palm Beach International. I'm not sure if Microsoft Flight Simulator is simulating the weather correctly, because honestly I don't see any clouds, and we're just about 35 nautical miles away. So I don't see any clouds, and it said on the weather report that there was scattered cloud at 3500. Yep, they still didn't update the meter information, so hopefully it's all cleared up, and I'm just concerned about the weather, the wind information, just so that I know I'm making the right decision for our landing runway. About 33 nautical miles away, so we're gonna start descending very slowly, very shortly. We should be about 10 minutes away when we start doing that. Very nice VFR map. The scenery out here. You can see most things are pretty well laid out. We are only 11 minutes away from our destination in Palm Beach International, which should be straight ahead. No indication of bad weather, and we are very close to the coast as well. Hopefully the winds are on our side, as we decided to go for runway 14 visual approach, and we'll start descending in about 3 nautical miles. Let's see if our meter toolbar helps here. So we want for Palm Beach International. Yep, the meter is same as our GTN 750. Altimeter 3014. Let me quickly go ahead and set that. 3014. And we can go ahead and start descending down slowly. We are only about 9 minutes away, so we'll start descending at about 400 to 500 feet per minute. And this is the time when we would start slowing down our plane as well. We don't want to be on a high-speed descent here. I feel like for GA aircraft, the main point of interest or point of focus should be power management. As long as we are descending down and as long as our speeds are good within the phases of the flight, things will go smooth. So we'll give our descent a pause at about 2000 feet until we can see the airfield, and then we'll resume our descent. And that will also give us enough time to slow down our plane. We're still at about 150 knots, going on at about 150 knots, and the winds are slowly, if you notice over here, the wind direction is kind of variable here. And if at this altitude it's about 7-8 knots, we should be at around 4 knots, the meter that we received. We most probably won't be able to do a straight in, so we might have to join a traffic pattern, and then from there we can decide which runway is good based on the winds. So we'll soon stop our descent and go on a level flight. I think that is the airfield. As far as I can tell, that is the airfield. Or the airport. And that is another airport we can see over here. Let's see what airport is that. Foxtrot 45. Not sure what that airport is, but it looks pretty decent. A small regional airport most probably. We're gonna go ahead and resume our level flight here, and we'll start bringing down our speed so we can be set for our final descent and landing. I think we didn't change our fuel tank for a bit, so we can go ahead, stop this, turn on our fuel pump, and switch our fuel tank. We can reset, restart, and turn off our fuel pump. Okay, that is not our airport. Most probably somewhere over there now. We're about 4 minutes away from it, so 10 nautical miles. We will start descending down again. Very slow descent, and making sure that our speed is within the limits. Also, we cannot put the throttle all the way down, as you can see, without the landing gear being down. We'll keep hearing the beep. Once we can clearly see the airport, we are going to go ahead, start setting up for landing, which shouldn't be anything too crazy. Flaps should be all the way down, and there's the landing, so not the final descent or anything, but it's the landing checklist. Flaps will be all the way down, fuel pump will be on, RPM is gonna be full max, and that is pretty much it. As of now, it seems that maybe we'll have to go ahead and land in runway 28 because the wind direction is cross, and yeah, runway 28 seems to be nice. We will go ahead and stay at 1500 feet until we fly over, because now I have made a decision that we're going to be flying over the airfield first, and then we'll decide what traffic pattern to join. So we're gonna resume our level flight here and bring our speed as close to flap speed, which is around 108 knots. So we'll try to stay within 108 knots. So when we are comfortable, we can go ahead and put our flaps to 10. Landing gear will go down and we will be on the pattern for whatever runway we choose. As of right now, we will be choosing runway 28. So let me go ahead and switch my heading to, let's see the heading of, I think it was 279, yeah. So it's going to be basically opposite to 27 and 279, there you go. So our heading bug is right over here, which means we'll be joining the traffic pattern, and this is most probably the airport, because I can see that control tower right there. And we're going to be hand flying pretty shortly. And I can see a runway light, which is most probably the runway that we want to land at. So this is probably runway 13. Or actually, this is most probably runway 14. Yeah, this is runway 4, the runway light that we see. We cannot land over there because we have tailwind. So what instead we're going to do is most probably this runway that we see over here, the longer one, is runway 28 right. So we're going to fly over the airfield, go a little bit towards the coast, and then make the base and final turn to line up with runway 28. If our heading is 1 2, still very much confused if this is runway 28 or this is runway 28. We can go ahead and actually real quick check it here with my info charts, and so there's runway 28, runway 10, runway 14, and runway 32. With all those headings, okay, let's go ahead, hand fly, autopilot is off, and we'll start descending down. So based on the wind direction that I can see from my GTN 750, we have to take this runway, and most probably this is runway 28. Most probably. Let's see what runway marker. Yep, that will be runway 28. We'll descend out of traffic pattern as we go. And yeah, 28 right. I can see it on my left window. Cannot put the speed lower than that. And we are at traffic altitude, I mean pattern altitude, so we can hold over here, make our turn. We most probably have to fly towards the coast, go just a little bit, hit the coast, and then from there we will be lining up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my landing gear down. That will help us with the speed control. Don't want to lose too much altitude. And we can go flaps 10 here as we are on downwind. Gotta make sure my speed is back up as the speed decreases in GA aircraft. We are parallel to the runway. And we'll just go towards the coast, make our base and final turn. For that I'll move a little bit to the right. And right now we have tailwind, so our runway, the runway that we chose is perfectly fine, as the tailwind will turn into headwind when we are trying to land there. So once we are above this coast right over here, we're going to be making the turn, and I'll bring my prop full forward, and once we are lined up, we'll turn on our fuel pump as well. We don't have to change our fuel tank because we changed it just a little bit ago. And there you go, we are almost lined up with our runway. So fuel pump can come on, flaps can go to 20. We'll decrease our speed, gear is already down and completely lined up. Flaps can go full. We'll try to hold a speed of 80, 75 to 80 for our final VREF. I'll kick my rudder pedal one more time. Hopefully this time it's not gonna cause us any problem. The winds are 4 coming in from almost 2.8, so maybe like 2.4 or something like that, but that is good condition for our landing. Pretty stable descent here towards our final descent. Let me turn on our KSAV so we can actually see what the vertical speed is. Flaps is full, confirmed, fuel pump on, and we are good to go for the landing. There you go, very soft turn. Only 24 feet per minute. I think this has been my best landing in at least this aircraft. So happy about that. Let's take a turn right over here. Flaps will come up. Fuel pump can go off, and we are off the runway here. I really enjoyed that landing. It was about 24 feet per minute, so one of the softest that I ever had. At least in this aircraft. Pitot 8 can come off. We are good here, and landing and strobe. We'll just keep it. Actually, yeah, we'll just keep it on for now. Fuel tank. We can select our left one, our default. On the ground, we don't need to use anything like the fuel pump or anything like that. We can just simply change it. So this was it for our 10th leg of this down the East Coast bush trip. 2 more legs and we are good to go. We'll be done with this bush trip and we'll be working on the next bush trip, which is up the West Coast using US Route 101. And if you have seen the pattern already, then we'll right after we get done with that, it will be from west to east and then from east to west. Or we can do it in this way. Actually, now that I think about it, this would make more sense. We started from Long Island MacArthur Airport in Long Island, New York. So how about we go from Key West towards California, and then we can continue with our US Route 101 bush trip. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So my next assignment would be to plan a route for our east to west bush trip using the same aircraft. I think we are good over here. I'm gonna go ahead, turn on my parking brake. Landing and strobe can go off, nav light can go off, and we're gonna shut down our engine here. Magnetos can go to off position. So this is it for this bush trip. Beacon light can go off, flaps are all up, gear is already down, all the switches and knobs are in correct position. Let me go ahead and turn off our fuel tank here. And this is it. This is it for this trip. For this leg of this bush trip. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.